Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on homeopathy with our beloved Dr. Pachegaonkar. Namaste, sir. What would you like to talk about today?
We can take up something like appetite and then on mental retardation.
Yes, good idea. Yes. So let's take up mental retardation first.
Yes.
Okay.
See, mental retardation is something which is like person is born with. It's not that it is acquired. And what we call intelligence quotient, IQ. If the IQ is above 80 or above, we call the normal person.
80 or above.
80 or above. So 100 is average. If you see Albert Einstein, his IQ must be above 120, 130. Whereas, like someone who is supposed to be normal, and if it is, say, 80, 85 IQ, the person would seem to be mentally retarded in comparison with Albert Einstein.
Yes.
So it's a very relative term. If the IQ is between 70 and 80, we call it borderline mental retardation, which doesn't require much treatment or management. But if it is below 70, definitely these children will have to be treated specially with special education, special management so that they develop well. And children below 60, it's very difficult to teach them anything, but rather we call it training them instead of teaching. And if it is like 40 or below 40, we call them imbecile. They are like infants for the whole life.
Nothing can be done.
Means they can be just managed and try to like self-management. That itself is a task for them. So it's a very difficult topic. But if the child is what we call identified at an early age, then at least the sequelae of mental retardation can be prevented. Sequelae in the sense like if it is a borderline case or marginally mentally retarded child, then child will develop complex because of other children bullying the person or something. Then even other people who are ignorant, they don't realize, they would definitely try identify it or demotivate the child. Therefore we need special care. So what we generally do is, if the child is like identified to be mentally retarded even at the age of 6 months, 8 months, 1 year also, we can identify this. It can be done. There are criteria, like of course the what we call clinical intelligence quotient, we do it, clinical IQ, because the measuring or having measurement of IQ is very difficult, even with the lot of instruments or apparatus. It is very difficult to come to correct intelligence quotient. It's again a relative thing. But when we clinically diagnose child to be mentally retarded, the care has to be taken that the proper management is done, they are given proper shelter, and once they are trained in the management, many times even children with borderline IQ like 60, 70, they have performed very well. If they are sheltered properly and trained properly, they have been trained very well. See the coincidence, today is 8th December, and 8th December is celebrated all over the world as Day for Mentally Retarded Children. So all over the world there are efforts that they are institutionally trained. Generally we don't call teachers, we call them trainers. Like 8 to 10 children of similar IQ are taken together and they are trained.
Taken together.
Yes, because then they can entertain each other, they complement each other. There would be no complex if they have similar IQ. If the child of 100 in IQ is mingling with children with 60 IQ, the child will dominate. So if they are of similar range of IQ, then the management and training also goes very easy. But as age advances, then the management and training goes very difficult, because I have seen some children who are not trained properly up to the age of 14, and then their ideas are fixed, everything is fixed, their complexes are already there, so it's very difficult to rehabilitate them. But otherwise, if we take up like children between 60 IQ to 80 IQ, we can definitely train them properly for self management as well as for some monotonous occupations where they don't need to take much decision making. Like once they are, like we have seen some, especially animal rearing, you see, sheep and cows. These children, they love animals, they are very okay with animals, and they are fine with them, and they follow the instructions, and it's a monotonous work, and they perform very well. See, it was like somewhere 1981, we opened one special school, a residential school for mentally retarded children in Maharashtra, in Ambajogai. It is called as Bodh Vardhini. Bodh is comprehension and Vardhini is cultivation of it. So this school, the first rural residential school for mentally retarded children in India. And there what we did, we had around 35 inmates between the age of 5 to 14. And we made 4 groups. Of course, depending upon the IQ, we made the groups, not according to age.
Not according to age.
Yeah. So we had sheep, we had poultry birds, we had cows, we had biogas plant, and all residential children, and they developed wonderfully well with each other. Then we used to train them in music and then sports and all, and they perform very well.
Even sports and music.
Yes, of course. For them, in music, we have seen a child who was imbecile. Imbecile in the sense, absolutely even test the child couldn't even express. We used to do, even the bitter neem seed, if you give, the child will just chew it as if something wrong has been done, but won't know how to spit it out. This child started speaking only while playing tabla, the drum. The tabla teacher used to just play tabla and pronounce the tal. And with that, even child started speaking monosyllables, and the speech surfaced within 6 months. It was
below
really
60. It was below 60.
This boy had IQ 45. It was like imbecile variety. The child couldn't recognize mother, couldn't tell his own name. But here also, with music and proper nourishment, proper management, and no demotivating environment, the children, they improve a lot. But most difficult is this borderline children, because borderline children, they are not identified at that age, and in society, when people don't identify them, they fall prey to the the negative forces in the society. Like they have seen one child at the age of 12, 13, parents did not realize that the child is mentally retarded. They were forcing a child to be in school. The child was not getting interest. The teachers were not taking care of the child. And this person was a landlord, and he had agriculture land, and many servants were there. And the child used to be very happily playing with these land laborers, farming servants. So it took 1 year for us to rehabilitate him.
But you could do it.
Yes, but 1 year is pretty long time, institutional training. So, but we have seen that other children who at tender age were recognized and they were managed, they were sheltered properly so that they don't come in wrong contact with the people. But this is something actually society has to be trained properly to take care of these people. They're, the whole community has to be trained to take care of this. But otherwise, these borderline cases, even in the local community also, they are identified by some rogue people and they are exploited easily. So they are really vulnerable creatures. So it is our duty to recognize them at quite early age, then shelter them properly, have proper management, and even later also these people, especially if the IQ is below 60, for whole life they need shelter. Because like if someone is doing occupation like milking cows and all, but they won't know like how to dispose it of, how to sell it, and then other people may take disadvantage of it. So whole life they may need shelter. So there are sheltered workshops or sheltered workplaces where these people work and their produce is sold in the communities and they get the returns. So it's the rehabilitation part is very difficult. But at the same time, we have seen some people, because they are so obedient and they are very good in monotonous work. So we have seen, what we call patchy intelligence. IQ is again a very general term. Yeah. But there are children who are very intelligent in one aspect, whereas in other sectors they may be mentally retarded. So if their patchy intelligence is matching with the occupation they enter in, then they perform very well. But whereas other places, they will be just idiots. They won't be able to perform. We have seen some, of course, patchy intelligence can be in any field. So we have seen a person who had patchy intelligence, genius in mathematics. Whereas in life skills, nil, no confidence, very shy type. And he was executive engineer in irrigation department and wonderful mathematics, very good engineer. But in life skill, even the office peon could dominate him, could give him wrong directives. So, and these borderline cases are difficult to detect, but they are vulnerable. Even if they have some patchy intelligence and in their field they perform very well, but then they are exploited by others, the intelligent people.
Have you seen it in music also, where some of them can play the piano at a very young age?
Yes. But that is, we can't call it mental retardation, but they are, if the patchy intelligence matches with that, like they get exposure and opportunity. That is what we say, that at early period. I have an example. One child, he was not good in studies, but borderline case. It was like IQ must be around 78, 80. But very good in mechanics, mechatronics. And the child then, son of a postgraduate or class 1 officer, and he couldn't pass his even 10th standard matriculation. And then we had his vocational one. There is one section in education which is having vocational guides, they call it, that they check the aptitude of the child and then decide like what branch the person will excel. That aptitude test was done, and the person told in technical part he will perform well than the academics and studying and mugging up. So he was given the course of what we call automobile repair. It's a petty job. And when the child was admitted, child means now he was a boy, grown up boy at the age of 15, was admitted in this automobile repair thing. that means that is the dead end for education. He can't get admission in university and all with this basic qualification. But then he was admitted. He and at the age of 18 he completed this course, automobile repair course. Then he was placed in one very good workshop, a car workshop in Pune, for 2 years. The car workshop owner realized that he is very sincere and very good in diagnosis and repairing. So he told, now you go for next generation cars. This was somewhere in, like, I'll tell you, it must be 89, 90, 1990. So the workshop owner himself came and placed him in a next generation cars. For 2 years he worked. So at the age of 21, he completed the whole training, the course as well as the field training. And at the age of 21, he opened his own car repair workshop in district place. And now he is around 48. And he has a staff of 20 people working under him and a wonderful workshop. But his contemporary classmate from school, he was very good in performance. He had admission in government engineering college on merit basis, in the best engineering college in Maharashtra. He studied, he completed his graduation, then he opened his own workshop, and then he met me and he was asking, what is this boy doing? He was under your care. Then I told him, you just go and meet him. And when he met him after 10 years, he was telling me, doctor, I'm 10 years behind him. So he had to take guidance, like how to run workshop and how to run the business and how to train even the staff. And now see, he's not a graduate, he's just not university trained, but he has 20 people who are graduates working under him and performing well. So this mental retardation, especially borderline cases, if they are assisted properly, rehabilitated properly, they can perform very well.
But you have to catch it early.
Early, before their confidence is gone.
Now, how does attention deficit disorder come into this?
See, that is altogether a different disorder. It is not mental retardation.
It's not mental at all.
No. See, it is not retardation.
Not retardation,
Not
but it
retardation.
is in the mind.
Huh. Yeah. See, if the children, it is the confidence of the child seeking the attention. Attention seeking means the child, always seeks attention of others. And because of that, their performance also is, jeopardized or affected. And therefore, and what we call is, they are a bit hyperactive. Because of that, because they seek attention and they become like they won't be able to sit properly in one place.
Do they seek approval also?
Yes, approval, recognition, or attention. They. So that is altogether a different disorder. They may not be mentally retarded, but it is at the level of performance. But these mentally retarded children, their IQ level itself is low, and there are no medicines which will enhance the IQ. But at the same time, application of whatever IQ they have, that can be, utilized, and their performance can be improvised. ADHD children need a little treatment for that, and homeopathy has wonderful remedies, where a child would be like self-centric and confident and all, will not be depending upon what others think. Here ADHD children, they are not like concentrated on themselves. They get affected by how like people are watching, what they are watching. So they perform, they attract the attention. And because of that, maybe they are hyperactive. But their main problem is they can't focus on one thing longer because of this ADHD disorder. They are not able to focus themselves on something. Whereas mentally retarded children, if they are trained, they are focused. They don't get distracted unless their confidence is low, or they are demotivated or bullied by people.
Now, when you have the borderline ones, um, if someone would be playing the piano, could they teach them piano if
Yes.
there is an opening?
Yeah, again, so many factors are there. That's what I said, patchy intelligence or even aptitude.
Okay.
If aptitude is matching, the performance is very good. They will excel even normal IQ people. If that aptitude is matching, and if they are motivated properly, they will perform better than anyone. They will be very sincere. They will be very honest in their efforts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Namaste.